Welcome to Booklandia, where we review romance novels.
This and every episode are chock full of oversharing and spoilers. Every episode is rated E for explicit. Oh my goodness, hi!
Oh, hi. Whoa, that intro is so fast. So very fast.
Yeah.
Not ready. I'm never ready for it.
Not emotionally prepared. Well,
No.
I am Ford, and I am coming to you from my blank void. Behold.
Almost blank. I'm Sky, and today we're talking about the mother of all modern romance, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, because we have been talking about this book for a really long time. And
Yeah,
it is time.
It was one of the first ideas for an episode we had. Because we bonded over this book, I think.
So the thing that was really interesting is at some point we did a questionnaire about ourselves, and you answered a lot of questions with P&P answers. And I think there's actually a saved screenshot of our phone conversation text conversation where I was like, wait, you like Pride and Prejudice as much as I do? How did I not know this? Because this was not early in our friendship. So
no, this was like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah, exactly. It was very recent. So turns out we have an equal amount of yay about this text. And so here we finally are to talk about it.
Yeah. I want to go back for just a moment and ask, you said that this is the mother of all modern romance?
Are you saying that you corrected that copy and you would like credit?
No. What I'm saying is, I'm already gonna start off with a weird question. Do you believe that Pride and Prejudice is a modern romance?
No, I believe that it is the blueprint for modern romance.
I see. Okay.
So
I think the modern tripped me up, and so I just wanted to
I think our current definition of that genre stems from Jane Austen. I think, I mean, just think about the number of retellings or based on this particular book alone, or the entirety of Jane Austen's life's work.
Canon. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that what we now consider as contemporary romance is based on the way that she wrote what at the time was called domestic fiction. So
yeah. Oof. That strikes me deeply in a place that I don't like. Great. I just wanted to clear that up. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Could it be, so I've read all of Jane Austen's work, including Love and Friendship. I don't think I've read all of her letters, but I took a class in college that was Austen and Bronte. So I've also read, I think, all of the Bronte sister works as well. So if Jane Austen is the blueprint of modern romance, would you say the Bronte sisters are the blueprint for women's fiction?
Ooh.
Because the Bronte sisters do not really do happy ever afters. They get there sometimes, but sometimes it's brutal.
Agreed. Yeah, the whole Heathcliff situation is upsetting.
Yeah, almost dying of hypothermia in the moor is really serious business.
Yeah, you might be right. I have not really thought about it. I don't feel as strongly about the Bronte sisters, other than well done you for doing a thing society said you shouldn't be doing. But yeah, maybe. Okay, maybe.
Okay, just food for thought. Just come back to me later on it.
That sounds like a great idea.
Shall we tell the people who might not have ever seen a single Pride and Prejudice movie or retelling about Pride and Prejudice? Or should we just send them to our Bridget Jones episodes?
Well, so yeah, so actually recently there's been a lot of conversation that I've been having with people who are like, I don't know, it's something that is in the high school curriculum. Was I supposed to have read it?
Ugh.
Like, there's a lot of people who didn't vibe with it and didn't get
Ooh,
it, and then
okay.
are really surprised when I point out things like, uh, oh my gosh, Clueless. Sorry, the name of the movie just
Yeah.
like completely left my brain.
Yeah.
Clueless is based
Yeah.
on Emma, things like that, and they're
Mhm.
like really? I'm like, yeah, Lion King is based on Hamlet, but you know, great literature is the bones of a lot of what we now replicate in our content, and Jane Austen's work is absolutely in that great literature bone. So in case we're about to spoil this for you, please go back and read it. The text is dense, but it isn't
Yeah.
hard to understand, and once you get into
Correct.
the cadence, it's really easy
Yeah.
to keep reading. So if you're
Mhm.
intimidated by the elaborate sentence structure, it isn't like there's a lot of commas. That's about it. Is all I have to say
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. I'll throw up my book cover and you can throw up the book cover you pulled. There's your book cover. Yep,
There's-
yep, yep. Nice. Do you want to throw up the pretty book
Yeah,
cover?
here she is.
The image one?
Yeah,
Brilliant.
so
Oh,
this
gorgeous.
is the Penguin Classic book cover. For those of you not seeing us but listening to us, it has the title of the book, and then what I presume is the Darcy Pemberley,
Mhm.
the Darcy Manor, which is called Pemberley, and probably Elizabeth and Darcy staring away from each other. He's sort of longingly over the shoulder looking at
Yeah.
her backside,
Yeah.
and she's reading a book.
Hey.
And she's reading a book.
Here, here. What made me pull up my book cover, so I have the Norton Critical Edition because I read this in school, so they make you read the legit translations and shit. Um, this book has an addendum at the back that explains money in the period. So, like, how much uh, the men's incomes would be, how much the entitlement would be, like how much they pay what's his face off with like it, and it's really helpful to kind of get a sense of the class system. So like if you're daunted by a book, pick up a Norton Critical Edition or something that has some amendments in it because they're gonna help you out. There's gonna be footnotes, it's gonna be a little more accessible, I think. So shall we tell the people? Shall
Yes,
we in 30
absolutely.
seconds or less?
In 30 seconds or less. I have to hold
Is your
on.
phone vibrating?
My phone is 100% trying to make an appearance in this episode. I apologize. It is done
Success.
now.
Success.
Okay.
You
All right.
so you wrote this blurb. Do
I
you
did.
want me to read it or do you wanna read it?
Sure. I would love to know how much you dislike my blurb, because I sense some side eye to this blurb. So know that I wrote it before coffee, and that might
Okay.
influence some of the really complicated sentence structure.
Excellent. I mean, gotta give me a challenge at this point.
All right. So in 3, 2, 1.
Elizabeth is the second of 5 daughters of the not so wealthy but wonderful Mr. and Mrs. Bennet, coming into her next marriage season in the English countryside. Darcy, parentheses, what's his first name? All I can think of is Mark Darcy from Bridget Jones. It's Fitzwilliam. Is bored of the circus of matchmaking because he is so rich and so above it all until Elizabeth. Her sharp wit, hey, I'm not going to make it, and unwavering passion drew him like a moth to the flame. Will they overcome their differences or succumb to the frivolity of societal norms? Written in 1813. 1813?
Yep.
That does not seem right. I guess it is right.
About
That's right.
1812. Yeah, it is written about 1812 and was published in 1813.
Well, according to one of the footnotes, The
Ooh,
original manuscript for this was
yes.
called something else
It
and
was called
was
First
probably written in
Impressions.
yeah, there you go, and, was written in 1797 or so.
Ah, okay. All right. All
Yeah.
right. I will allow for all of that. What did you think of my copy other than what's his name? I can think of Mark Darcy.
I give it, like, 2.8 out of 5.
That is very, very low praise.
Well, I would never describe Mr. and Mrs. Bennet as just wonderful. There's so much more color there that needs to be said.
They
There's
are
some sentence
wonderful.
structuring,
Yeah.
but, that's fine. I also have a different perspective of, Darcy's, I'm trying to think of the theater term, like, the his raison d'être, like, his, impetus for action. I don't think is, like, he is bored with the circus of matchmaking, like, that phrase does not appeal to me, but
Okay.
let's
All
talk about
right.
it.
All right, let's talk about it. So my
Yeah.
very my very first question has everything to do with um yeah.
So sorry, before you get to your first question, you said you've written a note that it was a satire?
Yes.
I have no clue that it's a satire. Please explain
Oh,
how this is a satire.
so one of the firstly, so much has been written about this book, all of the books, but this book in particular,
Mhm,
that you can probably find literary criticism naming it to be a bunch of different things. But one of the theories, and
mhm,
I do see this when I read the book, is that Jane Austen wrote this to make fun of, to poke fun at the structure, the societal structure of the time, the fact that women's
mm,
worth is determined by their presentation at a ball, the fact that
mhm,
their intelligence is not measured in the same way that men's intelligence is measured, that their ability to keep a house and marry off their children, particularly
mhm,
their women, is how they're so all of that, like everything about this story is really hyped up, super elevated, right? Like Mrs. Bennet is hysterical at all times.
yeah, yeah.
Lydia is ridiculous. Um, like Kitty always cries. Like it's not just a domestic story. It is this
Right.
like out of proportion story. And everything
Mm,
is extremely dramatic. Like there are a lot of fainting couch moments so that it would scandalize if people read this in 1780s or 1813 when
mhm,
it saw the light of day. People should have gone, how dare you about it. It was meant to really poke at what was happening. And
mhm,
historically, Jane Austen herself died a spinster at
mhm,
43, because
mhm,
society said she was not the first daughter, not of a very rich household, and her worth was
mhm,
measured based on those absolutely ridiculous criteria, and her actual intellectual worth was not valued at all. And in fact, this was published right before her death. She died in 1817. So if
mhm,
if the release date of this full manuscript is 1813, she may have seen 5 years, 4 years possibly of
mm.
success, of like measure of society at the time.
Well,
So
again, according to this appendices in this book, uh, books were published at the author's expense, and they didn't get paid until the publisher got paid back for the expense of printing the book. So, I forget if it's this book specifically, but a couple of them, she went into debt publishing.
right,
So,
exactly.
like,
So
there wasn't really any success.
right. So yeah, so it's sort of not in the same way, but it is meant to poke
Mhm.
fun at
Sure.
society. And
It
also
makes me wonder if she resonated with Mary the most, the bookish, daughter who never wanted to leave her room but always wanted to read and study.
It is my theory that every one of the Bennett sisters is a part of Jane Austen. So like
Interesting.
the excitement, because in her history, I'm sorry, this is a history lesson on Jane Austen. She was engaged. There was a reputable suitor in her life, but their engagement didn't work out because of a misunderstanding.
Oh, all right. Damn.
And there's a whole thing about, so I feel like that so sorry, excuse me. There's apparently also a frog in my throat today. So like Bingley and Jane feel like really early Jane Austen herself, and then Lizzie is the optimistic one that's like, we're gonna get through this and it's gonna be all right. And then as sort of you progress into it, Mary's the one that is like, just gonna go sit in my corner and write my book, and all of your silliness can leave me alone. So I feel like maybe she just pulled from her own experiences a lot. Again, just a theory.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna start with my question since you're hydrating your frog.
Yes.
Everybody in this story, everybody is up in everybody else's business. Everyone thinks they knows what is best for the other person. Darcy knows what's best for Bingley. Lady Catherine knows what's best for Darcy. Mrs. Bennet knows what's best for all of her daughters. Mr. Bennet cares about nothing and no one. Would you listen to someone else's opinions in matters of the heart?
I mean, gut response is no. But I would not blindly follow other people's opinions about my love life. But there's also something to be said about how other people see your significant other, and how sometimes you can be blinded to the sides of them that are not self-evident to you. So if someone says, hey, this person is not nice to others, isn't treating others in the way that they're treating you, that would probably raise some red flags and make me introspect on those, like, on whether or not that matters and that's a significant enough thing or not. It matters, by the way. It matters that you treat others with kindness. But if someone's like, you should not be dating that person, that immediately makes me go, I'll be dating them twice. Thanks.
A rebellious sort.
Yes. How about you?
I think it matters who has the opinion, what sort of based on fact, based on feeling it is. Like, I think there's a lot of different like 100 little things that could go into believing or not believing who the person is, how close our relationship is, our past. Yeah, there's so I'm open to it. I'm also the kind of person who is too shy to speak up, or I have been in the past. I've never gone to somebody and been like, dude, this bro is no good. Get him out of here. So I can't say with any certainty because I've never done that. Yeah.
All right. So, my question is very similar to the question we asked last year during the the Ice Planet Barbarian episode, where we were like, could we survive in a prehistoric cave?
Yeah.
The answer is hard no. But so my question is that this world is all about, so there's like, I'm sorry, I'm going to restart the sentence. My question is ultimately going to be about whether or not you could live in this Victorian England, and whether or not you would thrive and be excited for all the balls and be excited by all of the matchmaking and marriage, or would you turn out like Austen herself as the bookish spinster who goes into debt to publish her own books? And everyone romanticizes this time period, and everybody not everybody, this is a very broad statement. People romanticize Jane Austen's life, the entire experience of that time period in England, and the entire experience of being a woman in that time period in England. And very little is actually that grand. And so I wonder if, so my question is whether or not we would be able, if we went back in time to it, would we be able to put up with it, is the question.
Okay, that's a much different question than the question you started with. If we're going back in time together, we can put up with it together because there will be so much side-eye. So much side-eye.
I see. Okay, what about you personally?
I've thought about this before, and it's a very hard answer because one, I love pants.
Yes.
I just would want to wear pants at all times, and in fact could never wear pants ever in, early 19th century. Also, like, I think I bring this up later. Oh yeah, so I'll fold in my other question. People visit each other far too much. Like, the only thing to do is to go visit each other, and I do not like people that much. I would be no good. Like, the only thing to do is read a book, write a letter, go visit your neighbors. And that sounds like hell.
There's needlepoint.
Oh, fuck that shit, no. I mean, read a book, yes, give me all the books, but then if you read too many books, people start talking about it. How bookish and whatever. Like, there's a line of reading and reading too many books because you want to be well read, but not anyway. So that double standard makes me crazy. So basically, I don't think I would do well. Also, indoor plumbing is great. Very much a fan.
Chamber pots, not so cute.
Not a cute thing. If I could work in a bookstore, great. I'm just gonna demean myself into middle class so that I can work in a bookstore, and that might be a way to survive. But as for the reality of, like, marrying to marry well, like, that would also be really hard. To not marry someone that I liked or respected would be, soul crushing. So, it's leaning towards a no, but there are shades. There are shades of possibility. How about you?
It's a hard no for me. Because I just don't think that I would do well with keeping my mouth shut.
Hiding your blue hair?
Yeah, that would
out?
exactly. It would be problematic. But this is also my issue with sometimes with reading historicals that are true to the period, is that I get really frustrated with the position of women. I'm gonna cough again, and I'm so sorry. I'm gonna mute my microphone too for it.
Right. Well, to bring like, I see where your question is going, but
Thank
we've
you.
already established that this could possibly be a satire. So the position of women is hyper realized, not necessarily realistic.
Agreed. But still, I mean, so this is why I most recently read. So I read Bombshell by Sarah McLean, and it is historical, but it's very like women are sort of making decisions in a way that modern women would rather than historical women. And that really appealed to me. Whereas reading Bridgerton, I didn't get very far because those women were making decisions in a way that women at that time would. And and I was like, no, not interested, because I don't that.
Yeah.
And I think it's because that world is not escapist to me, right? Like, I can't romanticize the time period without constantly worrying about reproductive rights.
Right. Okay.
So,
sure. I'm glad that's number 1 on your list. Great.
I mean, yeah, chamber pots are also gross, but
like,
yes.
Yeah. Reproductive rights, voting rights,
Yeah, exactly.
being property, and or owning property. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, all of those things, right? So I would not do well in this period. I have a hard time disassociating into this time period as
Mhm.
escapist fiction. But I do
Got
think
it.
that it's meaningful. This particular tome is meaningful because it is written in the period, right? It's contemporary to that time period.
Mhm.
It's not someone currently
Yeah.
writing about back then. And so it gives you a glimpse into what it really was like, and that is compelling to me.
Excellent. Okay, so we first talked about doing this episode in our To Love and to Loathe episode, which is, again, another historical romance with a bit of a feminist scant to it. Um, and we brought up, I think you brought up that you consider Elizabeth and Darcy as a grump sunshine. And I hard disagree. And I want us to get into fisticuffs about this right here, right now.
Okay, so I guess my question is, what do you disagree with?
I do not think that Elizabeth is a sunshine.
Isn't
I
she
think she
though?
is a no, I think she is a practicalist, a realist, perhaps even a nihilist. Like, she always sees the truth of things when they are presented to her. And Jane is the sunshine. Jane is effervescent. She is all like Elizabeth constantly says, Jane, you are good and right with the world. Like, your joy is everyone else's joy, and I'm just here to support you.
I guess can't a true person and not a person who is a realist also constantly be looking on the bright side of things?
But I don't think that defines a sunshine versus a grump. I think that's just like a I just I would like proof that Elizabeth is a sunshine.
Okay.
Give me a scene in your
Um
recollection.
sure. So she is always, instead of lamenting her own position, she is always excited for the things that happen around her. And she does sometimes go into like, it's so sad that like, so she's never like maudlin about her situation. So when Bingley proposes to
Okay.
Jane, she's like, yay,
Uh-huh.
this is wonderful. When
I mean, that's the
Charlotte,
culmination of the whole book. So yeah, okay. Next.
when
Go ahead.
Charlotte gets betrothed to William
Collins.
Collins, thank you. I was like, Williams, that's not right. Collins, she at first she's like, yay. And I mean, yes, she's partially yay because she didn't want to be betrothed to Collins, but only later did they have a confrontation about it. But at first she's happy.
No, at first she was like, "What the fuck are you doing? This guy is Looney Tunes.
And
Are
then
you
they
sure
have the
you wanna do
conversation.
this?"
Right. And
And
then
then
Charlotte says
Charlotte's
this
like,
is the
"This
right
is the
fit.
best choice for." Yeah.
Okay, I will allow for that. I might be mixed up in that. There's a lot of people, okay? There's a lot of people, even in my
Okay,
favorite book.
okay, okay,
Um
okay.
she like she when she talks to this is going so well for me. My goodness. Um hold on. To the sorry, to Kitty's husband.
You mean Lydia's husband to Wickham?
Yes, Wickham, thank you. And I do mean Lydia's husband.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to rub it on my head some more so that the words go
Yep.
back in. Okay, much better.
Osmosis. Okay.
Osmosis is working with her. So when she originally meets Wickham and she talks to Wickham and he tells her the sad sob story, she's like, oh, okay, right? Like she intrinsically
Yeah,
believes people.
believes it.
She
Mhm.
believes that story, right? And so she's
Yeah.
immediately distrustful of the of Darcy and everybody else involved in the story.
Uh-huh. Which is proof, I think, is proof she's not a sunshine.
Why can't she also
Because
be a
she
sunshine? Nope. Today is not a words day.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. So sorry.
My point is that it's a trope, right? It's an enemies to
Mhm.
lovers trope and it's a grump sunshine trope.
Right.
They are inverse of each
No.
other. He is grumpy, is he not?
He is absolutely grumpy, but I
So
will
she
at
is the
best give
inverse of
you
that.
no, She is partly cloudy. He
I
falls in
love
love with
it
her.
though.
He falls in love with her because she doesn't take his bullshit.
They've met
Fine.
like 4 times.
But like Jane is the sunshine,
Sure, Jane
and
is
Bingley is
absolutely
the sunshine. Like, and the
yes.
two of them are both the grumps in comparison.
Sure. But they are to each other. They're each other's opposite, right? That's the whole point of this particular story is that they're each other's opposite and that's why it works. And that if she were any more sunny and any more pliable, then she wouldn't be a good fit for him because he needs someone confrontational. And that if he was any more pliable, then she would get very bored with him very quickly. So I feel like for them to have tension between them, they do have to be a little bit like he has to have sunny days and she has to have cloudy days. And I like partly cloudy. That's a great descriptor for someone.
Like, like I will definitely give you enemies to lovers. That's fine. Cool. I just can't agree with calling her a sunshine. It's not gonna happen. Um, but I also want to talk about how how we would view Darcy in modern times. Would we say that he is shy? Would we say that wonder if perhaps he is on the spectrum in some light way? Because he does not do well in groups. He cannot form a sentence in public that is not a total asshole sentence. Like I wonder what how society would view Darcy now.
I mean, refer to 27 iterations of Pride and Prejudice retelling, including and not limited to actor age Eve Brown. So it is possible that he's on the spectrum. I am sensing that you want him to be acknowledged as something beyond a grump and into a misunderstood person, and that's fine too. But he's white
Yes.
and rich, and fuck him, he can be whatever he wants.
I mean, should we just stop the episode now? Like, okay. Yes, this book is about white rich people. We're spending an hour talking about it. Nevertheless, I do believe that there's more going on in Darcy I than is can be perceived. There's definitely layers there. He has the most growth in the whole book. Like, he changes completely who he is based off of what she says when she doesn't accept his proposal. She's like, "Look, you're a bastard. You said some shitty things. You treated people horribly. I'm not gonna marry you." And he changes everything about himself. Like, he listened to her critiques and took it in and took it on. And he is there's a part even at the end where they're like it says like he's no by means no perfect, but Elizabeth tempers that, and he wanted to do it for her. So like there's still a lot of his personality that is baked in, but he's more aware of it.
Yeah, I
So
don't
I
disagree
think
with
there's just
any of that. That
yeah,
doesn't.
but I think there's more going on in his personality that Jane Austen doesn't have the language for.
That's totally fine. I don't disagree with any of that. It doesn't change the original premise of Grump's Sunshine. They can both be really complicated people inside. In fact, please continue being complicated people inside. Otherwise, it's really boring to read. So it could be both, can it not? They could be part of a trope and also be really 3-dimensional people.
I I guess then this comes down to the point that I think a trope doesn't happen in degrees. You can't have a piece of a trope.
Oh, there goes the whole genre.
Mm. Like, I, okay, so maybe I'm having thoughts on the fly here. If she's the mother of romance, if she's the blueprint, she shouldn't be remixing the tropes. It should be
Th-
straightforward.
She's the one that, but I don't think she's remixing. I think in her original premise, she says that people are 3-dimensional, that people have, that main characters in particular have really defined intellectual growth, and then it got pared down. And now, periodically, we get romances that have this full 3-dimensional character and some trope set up in it. And we have separated them into 2 separate bits. But her original blueprint says this is all part of the same, like, the trope is this. And we've been like, it's too much and we can't handle it emotionally. And so we've torn it apart.
So you're saying that the enemies to lovers Grump Sunshine is all one big trope?
I think they have to be opposites. So it doesn't have to be Grump Sunshine.
Okay.
It could
So
be
this
yin
is
and yang.
opposites attract.
This is opposites attract, yes.
Okay, I will also accept opposites attract. I'm not putting on the Grump Sunshine clothes.
That's
I'm
fine.
not on that boat. I'm not hopping that train. I do not agree.
That's totally good.
Opposites attract. Fine. Perfect. Excellent. That in fact is a great explanation for it. But not Grump Sunshine, no thank you.
All right. That is fine. My question has to do with our current interpretation of what's happening in that book and how we would define his behavior, particularly so one of my, and we'll talk about it later too, but one of my favorite scenes in this entire book is his "I hate that I love you" speech, because I want to slap him so hard. But I love that he's like, I'm struggling to even understand how my heart is doing this stupid thing when my brain is doing this other stupid thing. And these are the dumb words that came out of my face. I relate so hard to that. So I love that scene. But I do think he's maybe not the greatest guy on the planet for being like, I will tell you, like, I will word vomit at you, and it is your responsibility to handle my word vomit. So much as I do agree that he has a lot of emotional growth, and much as I do agree that he's a very emotionally aware character for the time period, I do find some of his masculinity really, really toxic. Some of his, like, relying on women to do all the emotional labor for him, really toxic.
So and she Darcy shuts that down.
I know. So Darcy, really toxic, yay or nay?
I think that is his growth from toxicity into not toxic. Because he comes to her and he says, look, I heard what you said when you said, what the fuck, this is a proposal. Let me outline how you're not a great guy. Just because you have money doesn't make you great. And he listened to her and he learned from her and he took the note. He fucking took the note and stopped, as we saw it, he stopped doing that. He stopped applying his emotional state onto other people and expecting them to carry that burden. So I think he starts off toxic and he ends up better. He ends up on the road to improvement. Enough for Elizabeth to tolerate him, to love him even. Yeah, there was another part I was going to... can't remember. That's it.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So I should have switched these around because now I'm going to get back into the trope conversation. As I was saying the words, I was like, it should have been in the opposite order. So let's talk about all the tropes that I think are in this book, and let's see if I missed any. I also need you to know that in the script, I called Austen the trope mother, and I feel like that should stay.
I noticed that, and I was like, I was imagining some sort of fantastical, like, flower woman. It was very elaborate in my head.
So the trope mother. Okay, so as previously agreed upon, enemies to lovers.
Yep. Yep.
or opposites attract and opposites attract. Mistaken identities, a little bit.
Explain.
So Wickham is like, I am a good guy, and this terrible other dude is terrible. And then turns out the inverse is true. So it's not really mistaken identity so much as gaslighting. I guess gaslighting.
Yeah.
Let's go with gaslighting.
Misdirect. The misdirect.
The misdirect. Yes.
Yeah.
Stranded in a stranger's bed when Jane gets sick and has to stay in the Bingley household.
Yeah. That's also plotting mothers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. Yes, plotting mothers.
Because Mrs. Bennet was like, you can't have the carriage. You have to ride your horse in the rain. It's going to rain, so go ride your horse and be sick there. And lo
Yeah,
and
it's
behold.
a little bit dangerous considering the whole no penicillin situation, but sure. Marriage of convenience. Charlotte marries for convenience. Secret sister. We sort of don't know about Darcy's sister until much later. I mean, we know that Darcy has a sister, but then when Elizabeth is walking through Pemberley and comes upon the sister, it's like, and then it's like, oh, this is his sister. What? You're shaking your head like that doesn't happen?
That doesn't happen. When she's in Pemberley, she comes upon him.
I do remember that, and then the famous lake scene if you've watched the miniseries. But when does she meet?
She travels a day later, and they intentionally meet.
Oh, they intentionally meet.
Brings her to. He introduces her to Elizabeth on purpose.
Okay, so I guess my point there is, my head was full of so many other people that the existence of Georgiana was a secret to me. I mean, it wasn't a secret. Like, I knew he had a sister, but she's a character that we are not introduced to until much later in the book.
Yeah, but that happens a lot because we don't really meet the Gardners until the end. We don't really meet the Forsters like until halfway through. I think that's just Act 2, like meeting more people. Act 1 is like meet the main players. Act 2 is let's grow the world.
I see.
So
I see. Well, okay, then the sister is not so secret. It's
I'm gonna say not secret.
That's fine. Okay, what else? What else is in there?
You definitely have definitely meddling parents, as I mentioned. I mean, can we call Darcy a stern brunch daddy? I think at the end becomes one.
Yeah, there's yeah, maybe
the evil sister.
Oh, there's the evil sister. Yes, for sure.
Miss Bingley and Mrs. Hurst are the evil sisters.
Yes.
Mostly Miss Bingley, though.
Yes.
I just need like a list of tropes in front of me to just be like, oh, well,
and
obviously
then,
that one.
Obviously it's this one and that one. Yeah. Well, we did a whole series of minisodes about
I know.
them.
I know. It is like millionaire. He is the millionaire.
That's true. Yes.
In this
married the millionaire. Absolutely, yes. Yeah. So I feel like there's more.
I would argue. Nope, not going to argue it for the same reasons I argued against your Grump Sunshine. I was going to say that Mr. Bennet and Mrs. Bennet could be Grump Sunshine, but I don't think so for the same reason I don't believe that Darcy and Elizabeth are. Okay. They're definitely an opposites attract. I think theirs was just a societal marriage as it was. Yeah, I can't think of any right now, so yeah. Do you have any you would like to add? Or is that
No, this was my list so far.
Okay, great. Then my last question before we go to break. It seems like Mary is the only sister who had it right. Devotion to reading. All she did was read. That sounds like the dream. Everyone else was expected to go visiting every single day, write a letter, go visit your neighbors, go call on somebody else. Exhausting. It just made me exhausted. Which of the Bennet sisters would you most like to be? So there's Jane, the oldest. Elizabeth, the second oldest, Mary, who's into her books, Kitty, who cries a lot by your definition, and Lydia, who is very frivolous.
Yes. So I feel like this is the Sex and the City quiz, but the Jane Austen Pride and Prejudice sister quiz. So I would like to be, which isn't to say which one I would actually be. I would like to be Lizzie. She has a nice balance of reading and riding horses and going through muddy puddles and not caring that her hem is dirty. But I would most likely be Mary.
Yes. I think this is same for me. I think it's the same for me. Yeah. Agreed. Okay, great. I'm glad on this we agree.
We're going to take an intermission. When we come back, we will discuss our favorite moments from the book and if this book made us want to get naked.
And
all right, and we're back. And we're talking at the same time. We're back and we're talking about Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen because we had to. Because it must be done.
I had to yell at you about my opinions. I don't really get worked up about a lot of stuff, so that's what this episode is, apparently.
Excellent.
Vehemently disagreeing with you.
Okay, well then tell me about your favorite moment in this book.
So this was a reread for me, and it's probably like my third or fourth reread, but it's been a long time. 8 years? It's been a long time since I've done a reread. And what I pulled out from this time through is the slow burn. Hey, slow burn. That's what it is. The slow burn of Darcy's affection for Elizabeth. Because in the first ball, the country ball, where he's just the worst, he describes her as tolerable and not handsome enough to tempt me. And then, like, the next time they hang out, he's like, oh, she has very sparkly eyes. And then, like, she just gets handsomer and handsomer to him the more she disagrees with him and yells at him and ignores him. And there's something really charming in watching him slowly fall in love with her, because now I knew what to track. I wanted to track their feelings for each other over the course of this book. And like, he was constant the whole time. Like, once, and he says, like, I never knew when it started, but then I was already in the middle of it when I noticed. And that is very charming. And he never really wavered from his feelings for her. And that was really nice. It's also, I clocked this time how many times they just sat in awkward silence with each other. And I think that did a lot of love growth as well. It's like, oh, we don't have to talk. We can just both be awkward sitting here together.
Interesting.
No pressure.
No pressure. I mean, there is that the whole scene in the library where when Miss Bingley is like, walk with me, and Elizabeth is like, just so we can show off our assets. This seems dumb, but let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That scene is very well done in the Keira Knightley movie, even more so than in the book, I think, itself.
Yes, I like that scene very much. And it that to me is the height of satire. Like, that whole scene where Elizabeth points out that, like, it's absolutely just the dumbest thing that they're just gonna walk back and forth through the library, distracting these men from letter writing. But sure, that's what you do, so let's do it.
Yeah, and the whole moment before, Miss Bingley is, like, complimenting Darcy on his form and, like, "Oh, don't forget to tell your sister this," and, like, just all up in his business when writing a letter, which the fact that he didn't slap her is a miracle, 'cause that would make me so crazy.
Right. So, yeah, so that, yeah. That is a whole mood. Okay, so the I hate that I love you scene is absolutely my favorite because it it feels really alive and really fresh, and like he is word vomiting and like not sure what's happening to his brain, or like there's a brain heart disconnect, and he's like, why am I saying this? But I have to say it, but why? And I just love how energetic it is, and not that the rest of the book is like really stodgy, but it is very period and very proper, and everyone's wearing their stays and everyone's like saying the nicest things to each other, and here he is just being like, why do I love you? And it's amazing to me. So that is my favorite.
It makes me wonder, because when I read it this time, I was like, this is an insult to Elizabeth. I'm with Elizabeth that he is insulting her, full stop. But if you're seeing that scene from his point of view, yes, it is word vomit. Yes, it's like, I'm so verklempt. I guess verklempt is not the right word, but like just overcome that I have to word vomit all my emotions out. Which I also found really interesting in this read through of the book, is that because it's third person, some scenes are from Charlotte's point, some scenes are from Mr. Bennet's point. Like it doesn't head jump per se, but you get a coloring of everything instead of just Elizabeth's point of view. So you can kind of come at those scenes from both sides. Interesting. Yeah.
Right.
What was your hot take?
I said yes, read this book, both because it made a genre, in my opinion. It formed it. It is the OG romance of the modern era, for sure. And what I measure a lot of romance against, and a lot of writers do, because they keep replicating it. So I say full yes.
Excellent. I concur. The rereadability is like totally great. I read something different than what I read 10 years ago and what I read the first time. And being more familiar with the story through the movies has also helped. This time I like star cast it in my head, and it's pretty much the Keira Knightley movie, except Colin Firth is Mr. Darcy.
Let's see, not
like
a Matthew McFadden fan?
Not a Matthew McFadden fan, but Donald Sutherland as Mr. Bennett is chef's kiss.
So good. It is so good. Yeah, that casting was excellent.
And the woman who plays Mrs. Bennett, I don't know her name and I feel really bad. She was also perfectly frivolous. It was good. And Lydia and Kitty,
Jenna Malone and Amy Kerrigan.
Not Amy Kerrigan. Carey Mulligan.
Oh my gosh. That is what you said. My brain did a bunch there, didn't it? It like it like jumbled up, it like boggled her name and then regurgitated a brand new name.
All I could think of is she was married to the Mumford and Son guy. Like that's all I could remember. And so you got me to where I needed to get.
Perfect. Yes. What you said, not what I Oh, so sorry. This brain is done for the day, apparently, and it's not that late in the afternoon. Okay.
Let's just tell the people if you wanted to get naked, and then you can go take a nap.
That's a great call. So yes, it did make me want to get naked, but only so I can fully slip into the frivolous persona that takes bubble baths and puts on muslin dresses and goes to balls.
Okay, all right. It did not make me want to get naked. Like this is not a sexy, steamy book. No. It did make me want to go for a walk and forget the world for a while, and maybe meet a handsome stranger on a one-to-one who's better having a one-to-one conversation than sitting in a drawing room talking. Like Elizabeth takes so many walks. I was like, should I take a walk? Like, so
yes.
This book made me want to exercise.
I'm not sure that Jane Austen meant that, but I feel like she'll take all the praise. Well,
That's
I
it.
think that is it. That is the end of current thoughts on Pride and Prejudice. I have a feeling we'll return to it many times.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do Emma next, or Sense and Sensibility, so I can yell about people in the rain in muslin outfits.
I want to lean towards a Sense and Sensibility, because at this moment I cannot remember that plot to save my life. You could not
Oh,
put
very
a
good.
gun to my
Okay.
head, and I could not tell you a single character name or anything. I think there's an Elizabeth. The
There
main
is.
character is Elizabeth. That's all I remember.
There isn't. There you go. All right. Well, in that case, come back and find out if we ever do that episode.
Goodbye.
Thank you for joining us for an episode of Booklandia.
For more Booklandia, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at l.skyford, Twitter at skyfordl, and hit up our blog, lskyford.com.
We love you to the moon and back, so don't forget to rate and subscribe.
Our eternal thanks for the audio editing and support provided by Finnegan Murphy, who you can find on Twitter at Finnegan1, that's FIONNEGAN, numeral 1, and sometimes Sky herself.